Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Roger Cauvin. I'm with the rock group Aura, or actually the advocacy group Aura, and we're a grassroots organization for an Austin for everyone, and one of our particular focuses is the more and better transportation, or public transportation. So I'm here to present on a crowdsourcing effort that Aura did to inform the Guadalupe corridor study process. Next slide, please. Oh, I can do it this way. And I'm really gratified to hear some of the things that Alan mentioned, and in particular that there's these analyses being done of what various different alternatives are as far as putting things on the drag, doing things with the different modes, and seeing what would happen to the people throughput. And that's one of the things that we're particularly interested in, and the reason that we went through this crowdsourcing effort, which I'll explain a little bit more about here. So many of you may have already seen this picture, this image, this famous image showing the capacities of and the space efficiency of various modes of transportation. As you can see, a bus carries a lot of people without taking up a lot of space, whereas cars take up much more space, and bikes are pretty compact as well, pretty space efficient as well. However, none of this works if people don't ride mass transit, if people don't ride bikes. If they all choose to get in their cars, you can try to do everything you can with mass transit, but it's if nobody rides it, then it doesn't help you in terms of relieving congestion, moving more people through the corridor. So on that note, we in Aura actually went to the drag at a peak time period between 5:35 p.m. and 6:35 p.m. I believe it was last Monday or maybe 2 Mondays ago. And we counted vehicles and people moving through the corridor. So we went from Dean Keaton through West Mall, through those, looked at those two sort of bus stops, but we had one person counting all of the different all of the cars that went through the corridor and the passengers in those cars, as well as the number of bikes that went through. And we all got on different, on every bus. We got on every bus we could. There was like 1 or 2 that we missed, but we got on every bus and we counted every passenger on every bus. And I did want to recognize a few people who are here who actually participated. We've got Tyler Markham and Dan Keshet and Robert Prentice who actually participated in this. And then we collected all the data, put it in a spreadsheet, and computed, sort of summarized some computations in the spreadsheet. And we delivered that spreadsheet to Alan and Rob and Todd Hemmingson at Capital Metro. And here's what we found. We found that about 1,600 people moved through the corridor during that peak hour time period, and the vast majority of them moved through in cars and buses. And the mode split was about almost 50-50 between the cars and buses, a little bit more for the cars. I'll also mention that, of course, we did not count pedestrians on the sidewalk. Had we done that, I think it's rather non-controversial that a lot of pedestrians are on the drag, but we didn't count that. So we also computed the average occupancy by mode. So the average bus carried about 20 times more people than the average car, and of course than the average bike. And we also looked at the average number of people by transit mode, the average number of travelers, or the number of travelers who went through by the different transit modes. So just focusing in on transit here, you can see that Metro Rapid and Metro Bus carried pretty much the vast majority of the travelers as far as transit. And here's that transit mode split, and you can see that 41% of the people that traveled through by transit were on Metro Rapid. And in terms of the occupancy, in terms of how many travelers per vehicle, again, Metro Rapid did really well there. We had about 32, 33 passengers per vehicle for Metro Rapid. So what comes out of this? Well, we hoped to inform the study and inform that analysis that's being done on the various alternatives as far as improving mobility in the Guadalupe corridor. And one of the things that we're going to do at Aura is another crowdsourcing effort, because we wanted to get a little bit more information. And that's going to be this Thursday. We're actually going to go out to the drag and to downtown, and we're going to compare speeds of buses using the transit priority lanes downtown versus getting caught up in all of the congestion on Guadalupe in mixed traffic. Guadalupe, the drag portion of Guadalupe. So we're going to be doing that. We're hoping that out of all of this, we're going to be able to get a pretty good idea of what the effect of transit priority lanes or dedicated lanes would be for transit if we extended them from downtown through the drag. And we're really hopeful that the study will look at that, and we're very much looking forward to the conclusions. That's it. If you have any questions for me, let me know.
Any questions?
I do. Sure. There is some origin and destination studies that I had looked at from Cap Metro a few years ago, and one of the things that came out was that something like 85 to 95% of the people that take the bus are going to take it because they're within 2 to 3 blocks of a stop. So one of the things you might want to look at when you're doing that is how far the stops are from each other. Because if people have to go a certain distance, then they're less likely to take the public transportation than others. So that's helpful.
Thanks. Yeah, one of the things that we wanted to do was just see how many people are actually taking it currently, despite sort of the mixed traffic and the buses getting caught on the drag. With somewhat poor travel times. And what we found is that, a good almost upwards of 50% of the travelers through the corridor were taking transit. So it's encouraging.
Well, thanks for putting your passion into this effort. I think that's a really praiseworthy thing to be doing. The city does a lot of this stuff because they're paid to. You're doing it clearly because you're passionate about it, and so congratulations. One of the things I wanted to point out and build on Deanne's comment, that people tend to take buses when they live within a block or two of the bus stop. That's one of the reasons why the bike program is trying to look at not bikes or buses, but bikes and buses, because if you hop a bike to the bus stop, your capture radius goes from about a half mile to about 2 miles. And that exposes 16, 18 times as many people to put them within range of transit. So you might want to think about ways to look at interactions between modes, and transit being, if you look at transit as being the central link, then look at the ways that bikes versus pedestrians get to and from the bus stops. Just a suggestion.
Interesting. Thank you. It is encouraging that Alan mentioned that they specifically are looking at, accommodating bicycles on the drag and instead of just, attaching to random objects on the sidewalk. So, so that'll be one element of it. I'm not sure. We'll look at maybe ways that we can analyze the different ways that people would kind of do that last half mile or last mile or 2 miles. Once they get off transit or to get on transit.
One link would be to count the bikes on the front end of the bus. There's a bike rack on the front of every bus.
Sure, absolutely. That sounds like a great easy,
Yeah, easy
thing
link.
to do.
Thanks again.
I didn't see any specific policy recommendations here. I think y'all are in the exploratory phase, finding out the numbers right now. But what sorts of things would you like to see, say, in May of this process? Would it be transit priority lanes, or would it would it be some sort of dynamic transit priority lane? Have you gotten that far yet?
No, we haven't. I guess what sort of spurred this effort was mostly the transit priority lanes or possible dedicated lanes, and really looking at what would happen there, because there's a lot of people sort of politically who look at this and they go, whoa. You might take a lane away from Guadalupe. The congestion's already so bad there, it'll just make congestion worse. And so what we wanted to do is look at it through the lens of how many people you'd be able to move through, and be able to, do projections on that, and be able to say, hey, look, the numbers don't lie. We'll move more people, or, we'll see. Maybe it'll be less people if we dedicate or prioritize a lane for transit. But yeah, as far as specific ideas, I mean, that the priority lanes or dedicated lanes are I think ones to look at.
Thanks. Any other questions? I really appreciate you coming and doing the work that y'all have all done, and we look forward to hearing more.
Thank you, Jace.
Thanks.
Roger.